Is it just us who sees the writing on the wall? Are we lost because half the country is too stupid to understand that this is like total communism? Are Democrats and the legacy media, but I repeat myself, just so brain dead that they cannot see just in these policies the inherent communistic failures that these policies would create? Happy Monday. Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. So, wow, a lot happened over the weekend. We have a lot to get to. I know, last week we finally heard some semblance of a platform from Kamala Harris. Remember, she had announced that she was going to be the candidate. And then for weeks and weeks, she didn't take any questions from the media. She didn't release any sort of plan or vision for the country. She just, held random rallies and turned on her black scent, which she didn't have before, but now she has, because she's going to tell all the brothers and sisters, we going to do it again in 2024. But finally, at the end of last week, she's been forced, I guess. She's like, we're running out of time. We got to release something. All right, fine. We'll release some bullet points, which I can sum up for you by just saying she's offering a lot of free shit and price controls on groceries, which, by the way, I would love for her to ask, Venezuela or the old Soviet Union, how that turned out for them. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a good diet protocol, I guess, because people will literally starve and America is very fat. So maybe she's just trying to do us all a favor. But, I know that that's not the case. But so we have this bare bones bullet point plan that's terrible, by the way. But could you at least give us some details, Kamala, on how you plan to implement all these crazy radical ideas? Because we got the bullet point, but we're going to need a little bit more information on this. But according to her surrogate, Kamala surrogate and DNC delegate Kaivan Shroff, the slow release of the details, I would say the most important part of all of this, the details, is intentionally being withheld. Just trust the reporters to explain it to you. Watch.
Talking about policy. In fact, I think Vice President Harris has been incredibly brave to roll out an ambitious economic agenda, because we all know how this works. The more details you share, the more your policies are going to get picked apart. But she's saying, I trust the American people. I trust the journalists to explain these policies and our values to folks. And I think when that happens, it will be successful for Democrats. These are very pro-worker, pro-middle class policies that people had been waiting for.
This dumbass is like, she trusts the American people. That's why she only wants the journalists who are totally in her camp to explain it to them. But other than that, she totally trusts the American people. Okay? I mean, it's mind-numbingly stupid. Right? They're admitting the quiet parts out loud. This is such a bad policy. It is such a bad plan. We don't want to release the details on it because none of it makes sense. Let's just let the journalists, lapdogs, explain it for us. We'll send out our daily list of talking points, like JD Vance is weird, and then we will trust that the legacy media is going to sit there and say the talking point that we instructed them to say, except this time, this new Kamalanomics is so incredibly dumb and so incredibly bad that even the journalists that he's talking about there, it seems even the journalists themselves have a pretty important question for her. How are you going to pay for this plan? How, this is a huge... listen, he called it brave. I guess you could say it's brave. Sure, it's brave in the sense that it's a terrible idea that nobody else has ever tried in America. Well, they have. They've tried it, but they haven't gone full communism. If you just go full communism, this time it'll work. Well, Kamala, with all of her time to prepare to answer the question, how are you going to pay for this plan, doesn't really seem to have an answer at all. Here is her answer. Well, sorry, air quotes again, answer when asked by one of those journalists that she wants to explain it to the American people. How are you going to pay for it? Watch.
You unveiled some economic policies last week.
Yeah.
Can you explain how you're going to pay for those? And can you give us a sense of what other policies you want to unveil going forward?
Sure. Well, I mean, you just look at it in terms of what we are talking about, for example, around children and the child tax credit and extending the EITC. It's at $6,000 for the first year of a child's life.
Yeah, we got
on that investment.
We got the bullet point.
What that will do and what it will pay for.
How do you pay for it?
Will be tremendous. We've seen it when we did it in the first year of our administration. We reduced child poverty by over 50%.
You're still not explaining how you pay for it.
And then what we're doing in terms of the tax credits, we know that there's a great return on that investment. When we increase home ownership in America, what that means in terms of increasing the tax base, not to mention property tax base, what that does to fund schools, again, return on investment. I think it's a mistake for any person who talks about public policy to not critically evaluate how you measure the return on investment. When you are strengthening neighborhoods, strengthening communities, and in particular the economy of those communities, and investing in a broad-based economy, everybody benefits, and it pays for itself.
It pays for itself. That was what she came to conclude at the. It pays for itself. Giving away subsidies for first-time homeowners and price controls on food and all these communistic policies that it just pays for itself. That's how you do the math. Wow. Spoken like someone who sounds like she was a product of the public education system, which, by the way, did you catch that? She said, well, once we get more people in homes, then we will be able to we'll be able to get more taxes in because we'll be able to charge them for property tax. And then we can funnel that money to our schools to create more indoctrination camps for our kids. Wow. What a policy. Now, you're probably sitting here, if you're a daily regular viewer of this show, you're sitting here and you're just wondering like, okay, but this seems really obvious, almost so obvious that it's scary. Is it just us who sees the writing on the wall? Are we lost because half the country is too stupid to understand that this is like total communism? Are Democrats and the legacy media, but I repeat myself, just so brain dead that they cannot see just in these policies the inherent communistic failures that these policies would create? Like, are we too far gone? I have good news for you. No, it's not just us, okay? I was reading an article earlier. Even ex-Obama economic advisor Jason Furman, he's not a fan. He's not a fan. Yes, I said ex-Obama, Barack Obama economic advisor. He says it sucks, okay? He said, this is not sensible policy, and I think the biggest hope is that it ends up being a lot of rhetoric and no reality. There's no upside here, and there is some downside. This guy, I don't think I can state it enough times. This guy was an economic advisor to Barack Obama, and Kamala's economic policy is too commie for even him. It's not just us, okay? Here's another one. CNN's senior political commentator Scott Jennings was underwhelmed. I'd say he's not a fan of this proposition. Watch.
The other thing that I picked up on today was this whole notion that price gouging, or gauging, as she called it, is what people are feeling. That is a total canard. This is not true. This is made up because they're trying to deflect attention from the actual inflation that has caused everything in your life to get more expensive. So they need the American people to believe something other than the truth. There is no price gouging. Grocery stores, these things, they operate on very slim profit margins. There is no gouging. There is just inflation. So to go out and say, oh, I'm going to get the federal government involved in setting prices or capping prices or interrupting the flow of the free market economy, let me tell you something. If you like bread lines, product shortages, black markets, hoarding, if you want to recreate the happy economic conditions of The Walking Dead, Kamala Harris has a plan for you.
CNN. That's what CNN is saying about Kamala's policy. That's how bad it is. Did you ever think that there would be a point where you would get too communist for CNN? I wouldn't. But then when you look at these policies coming out from her camp, what should we expect from the Harris-Walz campaign? I don't know what else these people should have expected. Do they not remember her running in 2020? Do they not remember the platforms that she ran on? I mean, there's an old saying from, I believe it's Maya Angelou, that says, when people tell you who they really are, believe them. You should believe them. And I think we should do that. I believe that we should take that advice because Kamala chose Tim Walz to be her running mate. And Kamala's running mate, Tim Walz, has been openly flirting with communism for a very long time now. We could talk about his recent comments. We could talk about his connections to the CCP. But I want to go way back. Let's get in a time machine and go way back to 1991, okay? Because according to a recently resurfaced Nebraska Alliance Times Herald newspaper article, this was back in 1991. Again, Tim Walz has been, I would say, a big fan of commies for a really long time because he told his students there, he was teaching social studies and he was referencing the Chinese communist system. He told his students, under communism, everyone shares and gets free food and housing from the government. Aw, that's so sweet. They just share. We all just share and we get free stuff. Doesn't that sound like fun? Now, he said this just 2 years after China's communist government massacred all of those pro-democracy student protesters in Tiananmen Square. Just 2 years after, he was like, nah, it's fine. I mean, the official death count ranges from several, hundred to thousands of people that the Chinese communist government just massacred for standing up against them. But they get free stuff and they share. It's so nice. By the way, fun fact, according to Reason magazine from, I believe it was 1900 to 1987, communists around the world just murdered approximately 169 million people. But Stephen, that's it's not 170 million. It's only 169 million people.
That's right. There you go. Finding the bright spot.
Yeah, thank you. It's right. It could be worse. Could be 170 million. But that's communism. And you have a campaign that is openly, blatantly saying this is what we want to turn your country into. I never thought that I would live to see the day where the Democrats jump the shark in their own party. And seems to be that Kamala is now listen, when you've lost Obama's economic advisor, things are not going great for you. That's all I'm going to say. All right, let's get into the DNC day one with the panel. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. So Relief Factor is there for those of you who you live in constant pain and you just think this is my life now and it sucks, but there's nothing to do about it. There is actually something to do about it. You can try Relief Factor. It's an all-natural anti-inflammatory developed by doctors because they were tired of thinking I only have this really strong pain medication to give to my patient and it's going to make them loopy and they're not going to be able to drive and have all these crazy side effects. No, Relief Factor is all natural. It's not going to make you feel loopy and it's just a super potent anti-inflammatory. So it's not going to be like you're putting a Band-Aid. You're just masking your pain. No, you're actually getting rid of it at the root cause with Relief Factor. Try their 3-week quick start. They've got a guarantee, so you've got nothing to lose except your pain. It's $19.95 and 70% of the people who order that go on to keep ordering more. By the way, you're going to know at the end of this quick start if it's going to work for you, but the odds are in your favor that it will. So you can go to relieffactor.com, get your 3-week quick start over at relieffactor.com. Welcome to the panel today, Matthew Marsden, BlazeTV contributor and actor and producer extraordinaire, along with Stu Burguiere, BlazeTV host of Stu Does America, which you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Also, make sure you're subscribed to his YouTube as well. Did I miss anything?
I'm on MySpace now. Yeah, I'll put you in my top 8 friends if you follow today.
Okay.
Can we respond to with an accent? Because I saw you picked up because you're at Matthew Marsden.
Matthew
So
Marsden.
can we say Sara Gonzales?
Sara Gonzales. Ay. So the DNC is, by the way, I just was talking about how Kamala her plans are so commie. They're being rejected by her own party, by Obama advisors, by the legacy media who are like, this would be a real shit show. And so we're watching that happen on one side. And then on the other side, we're watching the DNC obviously has begun, and watching over the weekend all of these pro-Palestinian protesters coming to Chicago just to protest. Because these are Democrat voters, guys, and they're coming in there to protest. I want to play our very own Julio Rosas. I misgendered him. I apologize for that, Julio. Our correspondent, he is down there on the ground, and here is some of those protests. Watch. Saying DNC, go home. Pretty nice beat, though.
Yeah, it's kind of...
We're going to make a war zone?
I think it's we're going to bring the war home.
We're going to bring the war home.
Oh, nice. So threatening the country you live in. That's wonderful. Thank you for that. That's great.
Yeah. Some might say those people don't deserve to live here and should just, I'll buy a one-way ticket for them to just go over to Gaza.
It's beautiful this time of year.
Is it?
Yeah, it's basically a resort town, you know?
Yeah.
And
I hear a lot of people want to get, it's a tourist trap, they say. Let that sink in. And then I want to play one more clip here of some of the Antifa, I believe. I don't know, but when you've got your own party calling, this is the Democrats again, you've got the Democrats calling the Democrats like anti-gay, and I'm like, my mind is blown here. Watch.
I love the fact they've got a Palestinian flag next to a pride flag. It's so perfect, isn't it?
It says a lot about their intelligence. Christian fascists, go away. They can't make up their minds like who is in their party. But the one that takes the cake for me was that Planned Parenthood is bringing their abortion bus to give out free vasectomies, free abortion pills, medical abortions, medication abortions, and emergency contraception. Yay! Woo! We love killing babies so much. We're going to let you do it on the bus. And I want to know if they actually give the vasectomy when they're driving. Mm-hmm. That could lead to some...
And how do they know who to give the vasectomy to? I think it's pretty sexist, basically.
It's called people with penises.
Oh my gosh, you said the P word, people. You have gendered them as humans, and that is wrong.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Now, is it true that if you bring your punch card, every 7 abortions, the 8th one is free?
No, I think it's the 10th.
It's the 10th. Okay. You got to do 10 and get the 11th free. And you get a 12-inch Subway sub.
Boy, you said 12-inch, and I was not sure where you were going.
And a statue of Moloch. You get a statue of Moloch on your 10th abortion. Yeah. Well done. There you go.
Yeah. You can put it on your mantle or something.
Mm-hmm. Look, I mean, this is the problem. You have the DNC have created this, right? They kind of fractured all these groups, and while they had one bad person to look at, which was obviously the right, anything on the right was bad. What they've had to try and do now is, be careful what you wish for, because you move left, and now they know they cannot win being so extreme, so they start pulling back to the right. Well, all the people that they've been told are victims for years and years and years are now like, hang on a second, you guys are the enemy. I'm just there like with a lot of popcorn, like watching this go down. It's fantastic.
I know.
This is what happens when your entire platform isn't based on anything of substance. You get chaos. Who would have thought it?
Right.
It's a real shocker. Yeah, I was watching Elizabeth Warren because I guess J.D. Vance came out and said, the Democrats seem to care about stuff that's not normal, right? Like they care about, for example, abortion. And she said, she said, is it not normal to care about abortion rights? Of course it's not normal to care about it. Obviously, like an adult who having essentially lust toward the idea of ending the lives of children, of course that's not normal. It might be normal to maybe hope children live.
Right.
That would be a normal thing. But no, she went the other way with this. And
I'm trying to find the actual quote. It was so
it's really
funny.
that bad.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it's like basically like, is it?
Oh, here it is. This is Elizabeth Warren responding to him. Excuse me? Abortion rights aren't a normal thing to care about? No.
Of course they're not. We're talking about ending the heartbeat of children. Yes, that is not a normal thing to care about. But this is where they are, right? And they're shocked by the idea that the Hamas wing of their party is out there in the streets. After, by the way, we should point out, they tried to prevent all of this by giving Hamas the vice presidential pick. They just handed it over to the Hamas protesters because they didn't want a Jewish person to have that role. So they decided, instead of taking Shapiro, who blatantly was a better choice, they decided to go with Tim Walz, which was a gift specifically to these people who are in the streets anyway, because you might note that people that support Hamas never are appeased. You can't appease them. That's not possible. They always want more because this isn't about a vice presidential pick or a policy or a speech. It's about ending the lives of every Jew on the planet. That's where a lot of these people are that are out in the streets protesting, and it's disgusting.
Yeah. I also noticed, I think that we have a video clip, Stephen, tell me if we do, of the Democrats putting a border around DNC. We don't have that. That's great. But so they're building a wall around their own event, but we can't build a wall for our country. The irony is not lost on me there. But so when they finally released their finalized platform, I believe this was last night, and it was really interesting because they finalized it before Joe Biden dropped out. So I believe it's a 92-page document, and it mentions Joe Biden multiple times, talking about reelecting him, which is very embarrassing.
Yeah, the second term of Joe Biden, they really didn't even check their own document before releasing it.
Not at all. And so, I mean, you can see right here in this headline from the Post Millennial, they begin with land acknowledgement because we're all on stolen land. Excuse me, it's called Concord. Thank you very much. Call to reelect Joe Biden, and of course, backing child sex changes, which is, hey, go all in. Go ahead, keep going. Go all in on child sex changes, please. Because as you want to talk about people not thinking that abortion is a normal thing to care about, let's talk about mutilating children. If you want to really go all in on the bug.
You got it. That was like Mr. Miyagi.
I cannot believe I did that without screaming.
It's like a speck of dust.
Shut up, Stu.
First of all, and second of all, you're in the middle of yelling at everybody else for killing things, and you're murdering right on the air.
Oh,
you just murdered that bug. You basically had your abortion bus pull up and abort the bug right on the show.
You know what? She's totally going to get done by Peter now.
Yes, I'm calling them.
I have a dead bug right here in front of me, and now you just do next. Mm-hmm. Hold on.
Eat it.
I'm not eating it.
Oh, it's nutrients.
Klaus Schwab?
Yes, ask Klaus. You got some good protein in that puppy.
So on the platform regarding Ukraine, it actually says, again, President Biden will never turn his back on our allies. In his second term, he will continue to stand with Ukraine to stop Putin's atrocities and constrain Russia's threat to allied nations and America's vital interests. So again, I'm very glad that they have released, they're very upfront about what they want to do in this country. They're very upfront about what they want to transform us into, specifically with Kamala's policy, bullet points that she released, trying to control the prices of groceries and, acknowledging stolen land that we all live on, apparently, and the trans agenda. So, if you like that, if you like your abortion, I guess you can keep your abortion if you want to vote for this. I, however, don't think that the majority of America does.
I'm shocked that, they had much longer than any normal candidate would have in such a circumstance, right? She went from not running for president all the way to the convention without having to answer one question, right? She was given weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to come up with something good to start off her policy proposals. And she came up with price controls. Legitimately the thing that everyone looks at immediately, even on the Democratic side, and says this is a joke. They did a poll of economists on this policy, and it was the rent control policy. And literally 2% of economists said this would make people's lives better.
And they should be fired.
And those 2% are terrible. And they all seem to work for the New York Times, but they're terrible. 2% of people, you mentioned, I think it was Jason Furman, right? That was the Obama era economist who came out and said this. And like his point was kind of like, these are terrible policies, but she'll never get them done. Right. So don't worry about it. Like that's the way that, that is fascinating. These are policies that have every time they've been tried, have destroyed economies. And this is their first take at this. They can't even come up. The two policies they've come up with are price controls and the one they stole from President Trump, the no taxes on tips. Like that's all they've come up with in like a month. I mean, this is incompetence beyond anyone's imagination.
It's actually longer than that, if you think about it, because if you're running as a vice president, you should have your own ideas, right?
Of course.
Like you should think, okay, we all know that. We all, like, some people might say, I just want a flat tax. Some people say tax is stealing. We should get rid of it altogether. Most people have a stance on it. Like I said, if you can pick top 3 things you can talk about, and she hasn't even thought it through, like clearly. So clearly she didn't think she was going to be going to run for president. I mean, who would after that shambolic show where she got less than 2% approval? I mean, like nobody likes her. Right. She's the one time that she spoke recently. It's really funny. You gotta love X, because the Democrats will. You could put a potato up, and they will go, "This is the greatest fruit of all time. It's amazing." They do it over and over. And there's a little video. I don't know if you saw it recently, where they're talking about her policies, and you just sit there and you go, you are possibly the stupidest person I have ever seen in my life. And I've seen some stupid people.
Yeah.
I was in Hollywood for a long time. And she's very, very stupid. So are you telling me that, like, really, she has nothing of substance? She has no stance on anything?
Well, but I mean, again, what is funny is the amount of people, the same people who the last presidential cycle were like, yeah, this woman sucks. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, what a sight to behold. She's so great. She's the same person that she was when you guys decided that she sucked and she was like the first person to drop out. She's the same person.
Throughout her vice presidency, when they leaked negative things to every media source who printed them all dutifully to help Joe Biden, over and over again, saying that she was bad with her staff and was not doing this task that she wanted, and Joe Biden was disappointed in her. All that was happening. And of course, like you look at these policies, and the grocery industry has a 1.18% profit margin.
How dare they?
How dare they?
Those selfish bastards.
Yeah, it's completely ridiculous. But it's consistent with what they did last time, because we cover some of this on Stu Does America tonight. But what they talk about here in multiple interviews is essentially like, we know what Kamala Harris is going to do. She's going to do the same stuff that Biden was doing, and she's going to go even farther.
Yes.
Biden actually talked to Bernie Sanders and said he wanted to spend $6 trillion. Biden, not Sanders, went to Sanders and said, we want to spend $6 trillion on the Inflation Reduction Act. And we're going to go as big as possible. Well, he never talked like that during the campaign. Right. And she's trying to pull off the same tactic. Run like you're this normal, sane person and wait until the second you get control. And when you get control, you go as left as possible. The exact same tactic, I might add, as one Tim Walz when he ran for governor of Minnesota. He was a moderate congressman throughout all those years. As soon as he got control of the state, he ran it way to the left. They want you to believe, right? They want you to believe that they're just normal people doing normal American things. They're talking about freedom and joy. They're not. They're looking for something very close to socialism. And I can say that with confidence because they were begging Bernie Sanders to raise the amount of money in their policies. An out and out admitted socialist. So the socialism tag is absolutely applicable here.
Yeah, you're totally right. So we'll stay tuned to the shit show over at the DNC and bring you guys
Even the editor's busy tonight.
Yeah, I do what I can. Mm-hmm. I do it. It's job security.
Creating job.
Thank you.
Creating jobs.
It's jobs. Yes, that's what I do here. Okay, I create jobs. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back with more, but I want to thank our sponsor this segment, Flying Ace Whiskey. So Flying Ace Whiskey is there for those of you who you really love whiskey. And am I surrounded by good company here?
And you love the country.
Yeah. And you love the country. Yeah.
I was on vacation a couple of weeks ago, brought a bottle of
Did you?
A Flying Ace up, and I was like, these are whiskey drinkers too. And I'm like, I don't know what you guys are going to think. Like, give it a shot. They loved it.
Really?
They loved it.
Well, we are also whiskey drinkers in my house, and we were not disappointed. We try to just like keep stocked with just exclusively Flying Ace because it really is good. So you can buy Flying Ace, but here's the thing. When you buy Flying Ace whiskey, you get to drink it, but also you get to help sponsor scholarships for the families of those who have fallen in combat because they are partnering with Folds of Honor in order to do that. So there's no reason not to do it. You get to have awesome whiskey, and you also are helping support these people. So you can go to flyingacespirits.com and then use code America to get free shipping. That is flyingacespirits.com, promo code America. Well, House Republicans, in the most Republican fashion ever, have just now, today, released a 292-page report outlining financial and influence peddling by Joe Biden and his son, Hunter. Today. After they've already decided that Joe Biden was not going to be the candidate, when there is, we're probably at, 80, 79 days until the next election. And just now, today, they want to take a victory lap about this report that apparently talks about Joe Biden's, you guys are going to be shocked, okay? He participated in abuse of power, foreign entanglements, corruption, and obstruction of investigations. They say bank records reportedly show that when accounting also for the Biden's family business associates and their company, the internal influence peddling schemes totaled over $27 million from foreign sources just from 2014 to 2023. Guys, like, I don't... This is so enraging to me. They want to, they pat themselves on the back like they did something. Wow, congratulations. What year did Glenn do his chalkboard special on all this?
2020, 2021, 19. I don't know.
Stephen in my ear said 2018.
2018. Wow. I mean, I believe
it was before the last election, which was in 2020. And these House Republicans are like, look, guys, when it doesn't matter, we think that Joe Biden should be impeached. Wow, great job. A day late and a dollar short. That is the most Republican thing I have ever heard. Ever.
I agree, I think, mostly.
No, Stu, you have to agree 100%.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. That is, they'd make us sign a contract on the way in here. No, I think first of all, I agree that this is very Republican because, of course, they're going to blow this.
Yes.
But let me just propose one minor addendum to that opinion, because I do agree generally with you. But I went on vacation a couple of weeks ago, several times in a row, like 3 times within 6 or 7 weeks.
All the big stuff that happened.
Right, but I wasn't supposed to be, Sarah. I took a vacation between the 2 conventions. You know why? Nothing happens between the 2 conventions. You have the first one, you have it kind of fades away. The other one comes up, which already had their vice president picked because they were in the White House already. So there'd be nothing going on in between those 2 conventions. I took all my vacation time. So I would be there for all the big news that happens, of course, after the Democratic convention. Now, of course, that didn't work out so well. I will also say that I have we do these comedy bits. We put them up on youtube.com/Stu Does America. There's a new one going up tonight, which we did, a couple of months ago. We were going to release it during the Democratic National Convention, and it's about old candidates. I'll just leave it at that. Now, it still works without the context of Joe Biden being the candidate, but it would have been better if Joe Biden was the candidate. And we planned this whole time. I think we timed it out really well. And you know what happened? It totally fell apart. So I will say, if you think about this in the context of Joe Biden staying in the nomination, this would be a great time to release this. And I wonder if that's what they had in mind. Now, it didn't work at all, but as a person who has failed many, many times over the past couple of months trying to time things, I will say I'll give them the slightest bit of a break here.
Fine.
It should have been done back when Glenn did his special, I mean, before the last election, not this one. I mean, I think, Stu, that the problem is, and you know this, like, we all look at them, we're like, you're all a bunch of idiots that can't get anything done.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so demoralizing. It's just another failure.
But they're also cowards, too. It's like, oh, wow, you're going to hold another hearing? Oh, no, don't tell me you're going to send another sternly worded message to the manager. Wow, what's that going to do? Like, it's been years and years of that. And now, all of a sudden, they're like, look, we did it.
Yay!
I mean, is he the president anymore? Well, I guess he kind of is. But is he the nominee? No, it must have worked, Sarah, or something.
It was all that congressional pressure that Joe Biden was getting that caused him to finally decide to drop out. That's what it was. Wink.
We'll hear that argument from one of them. No, I mean, look, honestly, I will say this. I was thinking about this today, that maybe the worst mistake Donald Trump ever made in his political career, we won't know for a while, but maybe the biggest mistake was beating Joe Biden too badly. Like, he should have let up. He should I was telling Glenn, I was like,
debate.
He should have done the debate. He beat him too badly in the debate. He would be winning by 8 points right now if he had just kind of beat him and he stuck around. I was telling Glenn, after that debate, the cycle is spinning out of control. People are announcing, I'm like, Trump needs to grab this news cycle. He needs to say anything. He needs to say, I'm considering Stormy Daniels as my vice president. Anything to get people talking about him again instead of Joe Biden. And look, in some ways, this is really legitimately terrible luck for Donald Trump. Kamala Harris is an awful candidate. Most likely he will beat her after this little boomlet kind of fades away and she has to get in front of cameras. But she's clearly going to be more difficult than Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. He had this election won already. And the fact that he won by so much that they replaced the candidate and now it's difficult again is really legitimately bad luck. That being said, with the Biden situation, we should remember this is about holding him accountable. It's not just about getting him out of office. Right. And whether, this goes on, whether he's already out of the nomination or not, this should still go forward in a way that addresses the situation. Number one, that he's held accountable. Number two, that he's still president. We are in a really vulnerable situation as a country with this guy running it still running the country.
Really running it,
but I don't know. He's still there. And as far as him being the figurehead of this country, I think we're in danger as long as he's there. I agree that I don't think he's making the day-to-day decisions per se, but I'm still very scared.
Well, but we also, we should operate as if he is making the day-to-day decisions, right? After they decided to pass the torch to Kamala, it was like everyone forgot that Joe Biden is still president right now. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to answer any questions. It's like everyone just forgot that he exists at all. And now they're just focused on Kamala. But it's like, guys, did you forget? We still need to do something about the dementia patient that is currently occupying the White House. It's kind of a big deal to me. And the reporters have seemed to have forgotten that it's even a thing.
Well, I mean, even Kamala's forgotten that she's actually in the White House as well, because she keeps saying, when I get in, I'll do X, Y, Z.
Right, day one.
Actually do it right now. I hate to tell you. But look, Stu, this is another issue that really drives me bonkers. What we're looking is we're saying, okay, look, Joe Biden is debating that plant, right? That plant has more IQ than Joe Biden.
Oh. Yes.
Right? Kamala Harris is debating that plant, right? Right. It's not really, I mean, they're still both the worst possible candidates. And Walz coming in is even, I mean, these are the just if you could go out and pick two of the worst people, it would be those two.
Not just the worst, but also the most progressive.
Extreme.
Right? The most radical extreme.
Extreme but stupid as well, and unlikable. They're extreme, stupid, and unlikable. And if we can't do it, if we can't beat them, and Trump is actually, I know that the left has gone off on him, but he's very charming actually. He's got a lot of charisma. His policies actually work, right? He's coming up with common sense policies. What if they had a good candidate, right? The Republicans are not good enough at this. They're not good enough at campaigning. Like you said, he should have been everywhere. After that fist raise, they should have gone, right, this is it. We are spending. We are going to bury them. We are just going to go out. We're going to do ad and ad and ad. And I said this last time. What do you get? You get Trump on the plane, shot on an iPhone going, can you give me some money? And it's a terrible lighting. And then the next thing that comes out is a Kamala Harris, super slick, Hollywood produced ad. And you're like, I'm sorry, if you were an alien that came down from a different planet, you'd look and you go, that's the party of poor people that don't know how to run anything. Yeah. And these guys are shit hot, like super good. We don't know in the campaign. I'm glad now they're changing things, but the campaign has been absolutely terrible since the moment when Trump, it doesn't matter whether Kamala gets a bump. He should be so far out of sight right now that he's winning by 9-10 points.
Yeah. Well, I think the more she opens her mouth, that will start to happen. But so I want to talk about that. We have to take a break, and then I want to let's go ahead and let's just look at voters in Atlantic City speak for themselves on who they plan to vote for when we return. So, disgraced CNN host Don Lemon. Do you like how I said former disgraced CNN host, sexist Don Lemon, went to Atlantic City asking voters who they would be voting for, and I just don't think that it went the way that he thought that it was going to go. Watch.
You're in a gambling town. Who's your money on?
I'm going to support the Democratic Party, but, I mean, Trump looks like he got it in the bag right now.
4 years ago, it was a lot better. I made a lot more money than I do now.
I know you feel that way, but that's not actually what the record shows. The economy is actually better under Biden.
I love it.
No, I'm serious.
Not how the record shows. Like
CNN. Okay, you know what?
No, that's not because I watch CNN. Trump or Harris?
Trump.
That's who's going to win.
That's who's going to win.
Who you support?
I support Trump. All the people that came to this country legally, it's not fair that they're letting all 10,000 to 15,000 people or 20,000 people here illegally. Have you seen San Diego?
I love this
they're
guy.
Coming they're coming off the boats, off the water right here, off the ocean. Did you know Biden was flying them in? Did you know Biden was flying them in? You didn't know that?
Oh, I know nobody likes him, but we had good times with Donald Trump. Our economy was good. Life was good.
But you know the economy's better under Biden than Trump.
Bullshit.
That's what the facts show.
I love her.
That's what the facts show.
Well, you know what? I don't know where they're getting their facts, but I don't think they're valid.
I mean, they're not.
Of course they're not. But it's like you can't just convince people that what they're living is not true. They're living it.
Yeah, the one guy, he actually fact-checked not on the economy in general, but on his own personal finance.
Yeah, right.
He said, I had more money before. Well, actually, you didn't. What? Yes, I did. And of course, what they're doing to get those numbers is to compare it to the depths of COVID, right? When everyone, when they, including, by the way, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and all of them supported the same policies, closed the entire economy. And yes, we did have a very rough year in 2020. Of course, the fair comparison is 2019, and we're in much, much worse shape now than we were in 2019. We didn't really recover as fast as we should have. We went through that inflationary period. Everything costs more. Wages did not catch up to those price increases for almost all of this presidency. It's been a disaster. Everybody knows it. Everybody feels it. They're not crazy. It's just true. They all know it. And the problem, and this has been one of the issues I've struggled with when watching the Trump campaign response. We were just talking about this a little bit off the air, but it's like they have been trying, I think, to separate Kamala Harris from Biden in a way to say she's even worse, which I get. Like, I understand that instinct, but you don't need to do that here. No. You just need to make her him. If I want some reporter to ask her one question about the economy. You keep saying on day one you'll do this, and on day one you'll do this. Tell me specifically what Joe Biden prevented you from doing the last 4 years. What policy did you want to enact that he said no?
Yep. What
policy did you disagree with that you took the deciding vote and against your conscience and went with the president? What was that? Because of course the answer is nothing. Mm-hmm. She is all of this policy. She owns every little bit of it. And that's where I think if they can make her not a new shiny candidate, but the same old thing, which is what she is, Trump's going to win easily.
Well, it's interesting too, because I believe Joe Biden himself has said Kamala is going to implement my policies, right? He is saying, because he can't look like the guy that they kicked out because he sucks. Right. So he's like, no, it's going to be more of the same with Kamala. So you should definitely vote for her. Meanwhile, she's going to that's why, like, they don't even understand their own messaging. Meanwhile, she's going to rallies talking about how bad it is right now. Pick one. Right? Like,
want them both.
Right.
Want them both.
Pick one, because you can't campaign on how bad it is in America right now when you're literally second in command. You can't do that. They seem to think that they can do both. I just think that it makes her come off as completely disingenuous and a liar.
You mean accurately? Yeah, to come off accurately.
Yeah, it shows you who she is. Yes. And by the way, I want to play one more quick video here of a man on the street interview showing that I think, again, the American people realize that Kamala is just a liar. Watch.
I'm leaning towards Trump.
And why is that?
A lot of the stuff Kamala says is kind of like what Trump has said, like no taxes on tips was something that was kind of reiterated by Trump beforehand. She's just kind of been caught up in a lot of lies.
These people in the mainstream media are going to these, man on the street interviews thinking like, oh, we're going to show them. And it is not turning out how I think that they anticipated it was going to. Let me just tell you this. I think ABC's Martha Raddatz expected that when she went and put a microphone in a black woman's face, she was not going to say Kamala was a liar. And yet it happened.
Well, the funny thing is if you look at something like that, I wonder how many people they went to, because they do not want to be showing that. Right. And they are showing it. And with all due respect to Don, I mean, he did put those clips up. I'm thinking, what else did he have that was way more extreme? Like those are the ones that came to him with the kind of least radical things to say, because they do not want to put out those clips, I can tell you.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing focus groups in Wisconsin and all of these swing states where people, the average voter, Democrat voters too, are like, I don't like it.
Yeah, no, and it's tough messaging for them too, if you think about it from their perspective, because like if Biden steps down and you just throw the whole thing out and say, okay, Gavin Newsom, or okay, Josh Shapiro, or okay, JB Pritzker, or whoever you want to put in there, you have a sensible way to say, look, Biden did a lot of good things, but obviously there was a lot of problems too. We're going to fix those. Mm-hmm. When you has Harris coming in, you can't do that. You have to actually go the other way and say, actually, all this stuff has been fantastic. He should go on Mount Rushmore. And this is just going to be a continuation of these policies. You really, with Kamala in there, there's no way to really work.
They're trying to do both.
They're trying to do it. Maybe it'll work.
I don't think so.
I think the American people will find this out. I mean, I get really pessimistic when I look back at it. I'm like, oh, maybe the American people will figure this out. A lot of times they don't. At least half of them don't. And that's all you need. So I'm very nervous about whether they will figure this out. So far, I will say it feels like this strategy's worked. Right? I mean, look, I think we're in a honeymoon period. Yeah. I don't have a lot of confidence. If I were them, I would be very nervous. This is why I would not have picked Tim Walz. That's a pick of confidence. Right. Like you think you're up by a bunch of points, so you pick the crazy liberal who's going to be on your side. That was a pick of it's a luxury pick. Yeah. Right? They should have gone somewhere else, but they didn't.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, we'll take a gift where we can get
Yes,
it.
we need it.
Yeah.
All right. Every gift we can take.
We'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, Stu, I want to be optimistic here before we have to go. I think the more Kamala talks, the less likely people will be to vote for her, because she says very stupid things like this. Watch.
And by doing that, and all that requires,
she's talking to black athletes.
Hard work, the practice, working as a team, knowing that you will be undefeated even if you don't win every game, but no circumstance or event
such a
or
moron.
moment will defeat your spirit.
You won't be undefeated if you don't win every game, because then you've been defeated, and that's the opposite of undefeated.
Is there a scientific study on that you want to point to, Sarah? I don't think that's true at all. I'm pretty sure CNN says the opposite, so I believe them.
Stu, what is the thing that you do? Veep Thoughts?
Veep Thoughts, yes, veepthoughts.com if you'd like to see some of them.
Stu has an entire segment just dedicated to dumb shit that Kamala Harris has said.
That is exactly what we have.
So we've got at least one debate, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, there's gonna be more of this to come. They can't, and they keep leaking that, oh, she's drunk. Yeah, we know. We've been dealing with her this whole time. So we'll see that play out. Thank you guys for being here.